All right, let's go ahead and kick this off. First off, I just want to thank Austin for joining us. Austin's one of the PC goaltenders. He's a grad student there. Came to PC by way of Western Michigan. And I think he's got a lot to offer us here with respect to some goaltending techniques and some insight. So looking forward to sharing some time, and then hopefully we'll have time for some questions at the end. All right, Austin, you know how to go ahead and set up a screen share if you want to do that.
Yeah. I'll get that going here. Can you type in the password? I just gotta authenticate to share the screen here. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, actually.
Are we all frozen here? What's going on? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm frozen. The video is frozen, it seems, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I see
It
Austin
does
back
look like
again.
Austin is frozen and now maybe split screened.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how you did that, Austin, but it's cool.
Okay, I had to pop off. I had to make changes to the computer so I could share it there. So it kind of booted me. Am I good or am I still?
We can still see your old picture frozen, but that's all right.
Let me try.
I think if you share the screen, you should be good. Yeah.
How's this? Okay.
I've never seen that before.
I've still got frozen you.
All right. Well, when I share the screen, hopefully it'll.
There it goes.
Okay. You guys see my screen?
No,
Not exactly.
We've got a picture of you that's not frozen, so that's a start.
All right. Let's see what I could do here.
There it is.
Let's.
Now it's showing the screen that where you're looking at Teams. So it is sharing a screen, but
How's this?
do you have multiple screens?
No.
Do the disc.
This is that one.
Try this one.
This one.
Yeah, I would see maybe that.
There you go.
We good?
Yep.
All right. Sweet.
Click this. Go back real quick, and then just go up to the top
Oh, you go
and
to the
click
top one.
one. Yeah.
There. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone can see that now. Full screen. We good?
Looks good.
Looks good to me.
Sweet. There we go. You'd think as a fifth year and 2 years into the pandemic, I would have had teams figured out by now, but I guess not. So yeah, I'm Austin Cain. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Just a little bit about myself, kind of like was touched on. I grew up playing my minor hockey in Ottawa there, up until I was about 17, and I moved to Toronto and played juniors for the better part of 3 years, just outside of Toronto in a town called Whitby. And then when I was 20, I was recruited to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, where I just graduated last year with a Bachelor of Business Administration. And after 4 years there, and then COVID made things pretty tough for a lot of guys in terms of moving on. Very limited spots, and as you know, it's already like that for goalies. There's not many spots and a lot of guys. So I elected to do another year and felt I needed a bit of a fresh start, and was lucky enough to get picked up by Providence here. So I'm kind of the halfway mark of my first season here at fifth year of college hockey, and just a different experience, and couldn't be happier to be here and with such a good program and unbelievable coaches. So kind of something that we do is every Monday, Wednesday is when we get our goalie sessions. We kind of have like 45 minutes before everyone else comes out before practice. And our goalie coach, Bruce Irving, he works with Stop It Goaltending out of Massachusetts. He comes out and works with us. One of the big things that I like about Brucey is he kind of stays for the whole practice too. So it's nice that the way we chunk it out is we get our time before practice, because then our mental state is thinking about all the things we just worked on. And then once everybody else comes out and we start getting into the drills, we have him to consult, and those ideas of the different techniques we were working on are still fresh in our mind there. So kind of what I did was clipped, I went through my first 3 months here, just our different goalie sessions. I put together some clips. Another thing that I think is really important when putting drills together, as you'll see, and I tried to clip them this way, is each drill that we do, it kind of starts off simple and build on one idea, and then we slowly progress to get harder and harder and add more elements to it, because obviously once we're in the game situation, it's pretty unpredictable. And we're not going to be thinking necessarily like how we're thinking here. So the idea with like goalie skate is kind of muscle memory, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be, every time you pop on the ice, you're doing a different drill. There's nothing wrong with repetition. And one of the unique things about being a goalie is how unique each player is. So, I've had multiple goalie coaches throughout my career, and I've got a list here of just different ones that have been really impactful for me for different reasons there. And but it's special because I could pick and choose different things from each guy that kind of worked for me. And where I find a lot of guys go wrong is they see something that they like and they push that on their goalies, and some guys can pick it up and some guys can't. It works for one kid's game and not for the other. And I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'4", and you can see, and I cover a lot of net here, so I can get away with doing things a certain way that works for me in terms of using my size and kind of dumbing things down, which you'll see that's kind of the purpose with these clips here. But just before I get going, the biggest thing, and I know that especially when I was younger, it's confidence. And whether you're a 10-year-old kid or you're 25 like me, it's goalie sessions are to build confidence, not to practice, the hardest plays that or the lowest percentage save plays that, even if that's something that you face more often than not in a game. Like you want a goalie going into a game feeling big, feeling confident, like he knows what he's doing, instead of, because what happens is if you're working on some difficult things and his confidence gets low, he's going into games going, well, I let in every shot in goalie practice, not I stopped every shot in goalie practice, I'm going to stop every shot in the game. And so you'll see a lot of these are pretty simple drills. It's nothing crazy. Like I said, as we progress, we kind of add different elements to make them harder. And the whole purpose of that is to start simple. Then the confidence gets going. You add another element, you master that, confidence high, add another element, master that, confidence even higher. And that's kind of the purpose of this. So what I'll do, I think, is I've got about 10 or 11 clips. And I guess if there's any questions or somebody wants me to go back, we can do that after each drill instead of after all of them, so that it's fresh. And I'll show them a couple times. I have my telestrator here too, so I can draw some things. But if anybody sees anything or has any questions of why we're doing something, just feel free to stop me. So this first one here, pucks at kind of a high slot in both circles. A lot of our shots kind of come from out there. They're just easier to track. In my first year of juniors, my goalie guy did stuff where the pucks were kind of like always in the slot area, and it ended up just being a setup for failure for me for practice, because think about the time it takes to track from here versus here. It's almost impossible. So it's good to get the eyes going. And you'll see with a lot of these, we start by kind of gapping out and then gliding back into our crease to simulate a rush. Not often doesn't matter the age group, our goalies are going to face like a static shot where they're just standing there and they don't have to move. There's always kind of pressure coming in. And like I said earlier, it's like the game is just unpredictable. So this is simulating like a rush coming in. And the idea is to push over to one guy, face a shot, to the other guy, face a shot, and then to gap back out to the middle and gain some depth for a third shot that'll be kind of high slot. So they're all short little pushes, but what I want you to take a look at is my head and my eyes. We call it kind of like it's like a series of movements. So eyes first, then the head turns, then the shoulder turns, then your hands turn, and the stick and the hips, and it kind of moves in a wave. And the whole purpose is so that when I'm pushing from, if my marker is here and I'm pushing from here, that I get exactly square. I'm in my spot. My feet are quiet. And I'm not over pushing or under pushing, or I'm not square, which that's kind of one of the things that I wish people hammered into my brain a little bit more when I was a kid. It's just how important your head and your eyes are. So you'll see I gap out, I start moving back, head turns, first shot, second shot, and then I get a little bit of depth and gap out for a third shot. So when I mention quiet feet, I have 2 reps here, I think. It's really easy, and a lot of goalies, when they get to their spot and they're expecting a shot, their feet kind of do this because they're already anticipating going down. And this is maybe more important as guys get older, but you don't have that luxury of setting your feet like that, because if you set too early and then another pass happens, then you're going to end up behind the play. So the whole purpose of this is to just be quiet with your feet, quiet with your hands. Even though you know where the shots are coming from. They're nice, easy shots from far away. And if you notice the first 2 shots, I didn't even go down. That's usually how we start off, is just some simple footwork. None of this up and down. It's just kind of working on easy stuff. So once I complete a drill like this, I feel patient, my hands feel good, my tracking is there, because I've allowed myself the time to face some long shots before I really get into it. So the next rep here, reset. Gap out, head turn. And then a little bit of depth for the third shot. A little flashy there too. So I'll play it through again here, just full time. But you'll see once I get to my spot, there's not much movement in my feet. And the other thing too is patient on the pass here. It'd be easy for me to just take off and go, but part of being square is having the patience to wait for the forward to pass the puck, instead of, a lot of goalies will try and beat them to their spot. So you'll see first save, and then I don't move my feet until the puck leaves his stick. So that's the first one there. Anybody has any comments or anything, any questions?
So one thing I would add here that's really important as a takeaway is you'll notice that between reps of the drill, the goaltender goes back to the D depth, back to the goal line. And that's really important, especially for the young goaltenders, to build their repetition of advancing and retreating. A lot of times the reps come too fast in our drills, and they're just staying out high the whole time, and they drift out of place. But by resetting after every rep, that helps you get that tight feel, and then the eyes, hands, body flows from that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really glad that you pointed that out, because you'll notice that the other part of it too is it's a reset, but it's a mental reset too, right? So I go through, I do my set, but when I get back to that central area, for me, that's always been a point of, okay, like time to refocus and think about the next rep, right? So I kind of take a second here and I'm refocusing for the next rep. Too often, again, the whole idea of confidence, right? Sometimes if I went through and I let 2 of those in or 1 of those in, and from those areas, and where I've got nobody in front of me, that's something I'd be pretty upset about, to be honest with you. But it's all about maximizing each repetition as another big point for goalies here. One thing at Western Michigan, my coach was a little bit old school, and he was really big on as hard as you can go, as many reps as possible within the time constraint. And maybe for the forwards, that's something that works out, but it's kind of a recipe for failure for the goalies, right? Because you get kind of messy and you're worried about getting every rep in, and you get away from technique. So that's another thing I'd kind of like to add here is I would personally rather do 7 repetitions, but every single one I'm fully focused and I do them 100% correct, than to do 20 and half of them are good, half of them aren't, right? So this is the second one here. It's a little progression off of that. So those were just 3 static shots. This one, it's the same idea, gap out and then slowly retreat, and you move over for a shot, and then he's going to pass the second one back door. So for the goalie, it's this time I'm actually going down for the save, and I'm also sliding down on my knees. So it's simulating a rebound to the far side. But when this guy shoots, even though it's a far shot, more times than not, the goalie might get up and you'd like to get over there on your feet, especially if he's shooting from out here. But now we're just kind of simulating a rebound and tracking when we're already in our butterfly. So you'll see a gap out, come back, head turn, shoulders, shot, and then a slide. And the other big thing here too is when you hit your post, you'll see maybe when I go to this side, because it's from behind, it's easy for me, like I said, because I'm a big guy, so I can slide into that post and still cover a lot of net. But the important thing is control and not ending up in the corner. I think the only time you'd really want to have a push so hard that you get over there is when the guy's maybe right here and it's real and tight, and you're over here and it's everything you can do to get your body in front of it. But when I know the shot is coming from out here, I don't need to be in a rush, and I want to end up in a spot where even, let's say, there's a rebound off of this guy's shot, I can still move from here, right? So again, take my second, reset, come back out, stick save, and then right there. So I'll go through that one again. Players are getting so good now too that goalies, like, as simple as you can make it, right? One of the things that one of my first goalie coaches told me when I was, I don't know, I might have been 8 or 9, I still remember, was that a boring goalie is a great goalie, but something like the goalie that's the most fun to watch from a goalie perspective is the most boring goalie out there. Like, he doesn't have to do a lot, but only goalies will understand, like, okay, he's doing everything correctly. Even though, for the average person, the most exciting thing, it might be the most spectacular save. The best goalies aren't the guys who are making the spectacular save. It's the ones making the easy save, because they've put themselves in a position and they're good enough with their hands and their feet and just their patience that they don't have to get desperate. So this is another progression off of that. It's a similar thing. So now we've done just like static shots on our feet. Now we've done a shot, rebound, where we're actually reacting to it. And this one, the shooters have the option to shoot or pass. So again, it's adding that element of surprise here, that you'd see in a game where you're never really going to know if the guy's going to shoot or pass the puck, right? They don't tell you. And as you get older, you kind of learn to read different signals in their stick or their eyes, and you kind of figure that out for yourself. But as a goalie, it's never good to guess. So the first 2 drills have kind of, for this progression anyway, helped my confidence with, I know I can get my feet set, I can get to my mark, my tracking with my hands is good. And then the second one was getting that pivot back to post. I'm comfortable again. I don't need to be in a rush. I know I'm going to get there if he passes it back there. So for this one, gap out, come back, same thing. And I kind of maybe overslid a little bit there, but this one's a little bit tougher because they're walking in instead of shooting from out here. See, for a shot like that, that one would have been easy to, see if I can back it up here a little bit. That could have been easy to anticipate the pass and slide over. So this is that whole idea of patience and quiet feet. So if I had, so I get there and my feet are quiet right there. If I went into that set mode that I was talking about earlier, it would have worked out because he shot. But if he passed the puck there, I probably would have dropped. And then this guy's got the entire net. And on the other hand too, I didn't slide and then miss it on the shot because I was anticipating the guy in the back door too. I'll just go back to that one just as another point I thought about. So again, with the shot, because we're moving back, another thing to look at and to work on is because I'm moving back, especially with the younger goalies, you're kind of still developing spatial awareness in this area, right? So for me, I know kind of where I'm at, where the paint is, and I also know that if I get a little deep, I'm a big body, so I can afford that. But for these younger guys, oftentimes they'll be gliding, and they're still gliding when the shot comes, and even when they move over, they're this deep into the net, and they're all smaller bodies, and so that's just kind of giving up unnecessary net. But it's building that spatial awareness to glide back, and then get to a spot like here instead of ending up back here. So this one, similar idea. This guy is just, forward being forward, looking for rebounds. So glide back, push over. And the biggest difference here is instead of walking in and having the option, he's moving it right away, and it's a long push, right? So I'm not going here to here anymore. I'm having to go from here all the way to here. And yeah, it's a bigger difference, but what a lot of people don't understand is to get to an appropriate spot, you got to completely change your angle. And that's where your head and your hands are one of the most important things. So the other aspect of it too is I know this guy's passing the puck, right? But I still need to get over to my spot and set my feet. And he's passing it relatively quickly too. So that's again the other kind of big idea with turning my head and my hands, where at least if the puck is already here and it's moving and I haven't left my spot yet, if I'm tracking with my head and my hands, when I get there, I'm gonna get over to my spot instead of coming over like this. So even if I'm a little bit late, I'm square before I even arrive. Whereas if I come over this way, especially because this guy's a left-handed shot, so his stick is gonna see more of this or the puck than his eyes do. That's another big idea too, and that's something to develop as guys get older. Is the puck when it's on a player's stick, depending right or left and where they are on the ice, sees a completely different game than what the shooter, what his eyes see. So I gap out. This time I go to the other side, and he messed up. I move it over, and then save. If you notice when I drop down, I'm going kind of side to side quite a bit, but I'm not sliding. I'm going straight down. Wish I could back up a little faster here.
Austin, as you're doing these drills, are you predetermining what moves you're making, regardless of where the shot comes in? Certainly back in the first drill, it looked like you were staying up no matter where the puck was, and then for the first two shots, and then you were going down no matter where the puck was for the last shot. Is that for all these drills, or?
No, so that's something that we kind of work on with Brucey. So generally the first drill that we do, it's pretty simple. The shots are from far out, and we're kind of just getting our legs going. So it's instead of getting out there and right away you're up and down and you're bagged by the time the first drill is over. It kind of, we usually take that first drill as an opportunity to do something simple, build the confidence, kind of work on our footwork. And the other side with staying up is we're working on tracking. So the first one was kind of moving back. I get to here and I'm up, and it's kind of dumbing it down. So when I get there, I'm only working on tracking with my hands because I know I'm not having to drop for the shot. So we do it that even if the shooter messes up, excuse me, or he takes a low shot on net, I'm staying up anyway. Not to build a bad habit, but to work on, quiet feet, my head in my hands. It's all that kind of little stuff. So we're slowly ramping up into it. So in that second drill, you see I start going down for shots because now I'm a little bit warm. I've worked on my tracking, and we kind of slowly, like I mentioned, each drill progresses differently, and I'm playing it differently too. So I'm slowly everything's getting more game like. But one of the first drills is always I kind of just do it on my feet, and that just gets my feet going. It gets me thinking. But not trying to do too much right off the bat because sometimes they can get kind of messy. So I find it's just easier to kind of slowly work your way into things, and that's where I've been the most successful.
Great, thank you.
Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was perfect.
Okay, awesome. I will say, so when the rest of the guys come out, so we haven't played. This weekend will be our first couple games in the last 2 weeks. So something that there's been a lot of shots, but the first 15, 20 minutes of practice have been just 1-on-0, like shot after shot after shot. And me and our other guy, Jackson Staver, will just kind of take this net, and the shooters will do a lot of just walking in and shooting from here, walking in from shooting from here. And because they're coming so rapidly, we don't go down for those either. And a lot of that is, again, it's the first drill. Think about how exhausted we'd be for the rest of the day, just going up and down and up and down and up and down. And because of the high frequency of shots, it's easier for us to just kind of move from point to point, stay on our feet, and work on tracking. And I'll tell you right now, we're still stopping 95% of the shots. It all just kind of depends where the shot's coming from, but it's, again, just to kind of slowly, I find it easier and I'm more successful throughout the rest of my practice when I'm kind of working into things that way, and instead of just, if I was going up and down for 100 shots in the first 20 minutes, then the rest of my practice might not look too good.
Right. So you're working on your stuff rather than paying as much attention to where the shot is coming from and what's going on with the shot. You're worried about what you're trying to accomplish more than what they're trying to accomplish.
I mean, but that's what the forwards are doing too, right? They're working on skating or whatever. So it's and that's something that I don't think a lot of coaches kind of understand. I think there's always been a bit of a disconnect between the head coaching staff and then the goalies, and unless you've actually been out there and done it, it's a lot of people just wouldn't get it, and it's honestly something that even in college I've still had to fight for. Not so much here. I think Coach Nate's been really good at just kind of letting Brucey take over and do his thing with us, and then just not asking questions. And at the end of the day, he's happy if the puck's staying out of the net, then that's all he can ask for, and he doesn't ask questions of what our process looks like. So for me, in that instance, the forwards are working on their thing. I know where the shot's coming from. I'm still, moving around and tracking it, but I'm not going up and down for every single one. So, and then normally they add like a progression where it'll be like a 2-on-1, and one guy will come this way and then drop it out to a guy and in here, and that's when I'll start, going down and reacting to shots and not just kind of staying on my feet. It's all kind of just, it all depends on the drill. But in terms of just the goalie stuff, we usually start feet, work on hands tracking, eyes, get everything warm, and then slowly build into it.
So in terms of our kids, one of the things that really applies with this is that I see a lot of coaches, right, when you get 5 minutes with the goalie between drills, when the coach is explaining something or whatever, just like blasting shots point blank at the goalies, use that time to help them work on their footwork and their tracking and stuff like that with simpler, longer drills. If you're doing a goaltender warm-up, keep it simple, work on footwork, work on hand-eye, work on tracking. This works at all levels, but it's particularly important, I think, for the little kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've added a couple clips just at the end of little, like when you do have 5-10 minutes and, you're not using a whole end like this, of little things that we do too. So you'll see that at the end, but there's a ton of things you can do, even just little movements in the crease, but simple is better even for us, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's about confidence. And, like you're not, even in these clips, not seeing much go in, and And part of that is just because we've figured out a system with Brucey where our confidence is at a point where we can slowly work into tougher and tougher drills and feel comfortable about our own movements, and we get to a point where it doesn't matter where the shot's coming from, we're comfortable in getting there. So
Austin, I'm curious, with our kids, a lot of times we're dealing with squirts and mites and really little guys in some cases. And we tell them in like in warm-ups or something, hit them in the pads or try to shoot it where, or don't try to beat them every single time. Do you, like when you're cold and stuff, do your shooters know they're going to do that for you? Or are they always trying to beat you and you like that challenge? What do you recommend there?
So that's funny, because that's something that I think is valuable even at the level I'm at in age. As going into the pregame warm up, you want to start off on a good foot and stop everything in warm up, but it's not always realistic. And so I'd love for the guys to hit me with the puck, but it's also there's some gratification in making a good save. And the reason I kind of chuckle here is because imagine, so the difficulty of trying to get mites and younger kids to shoot at the goalies it's probably, it is pretty difficult. And I'll tell you right now that even at this level, the guys don't like to do that. So you kind of just get to a point where sometimes the goalies don't win, and you kind of just, you go through your own routine. So for example, Stauber, we do this one warm-up drill before games where they come in on a 3-on-0. So you can imagine that's high percentage for the shooter, low percentage for a goalie, and not exactly something you want to see in a game, but that's something part of our warm-up routine. And I think it's important to go into that with the, at the mental state that I don't need to stop everything. This is low percentage for me. Not to say that that's the same as I'm going to get scored on here, but he kind of only takes every second rep. And then while the guys are kind of still skating around doing their thing, he has these little skating movements that he does kind of side to side. And then he just lets them shoot around him if it means going through to the open net or whatever. And then he takes the rep when he's ready to take the rep. And so it's that whole kind of just the mental aspect of, again, you can face every single one and they might not be 100% effort, or you can pick and choose certain ones and put 100% effort in and have the best quality reps, and like what's gonna make them feel better at the end of the day. I don't think there's any way that you can convince any shooter to do a warm up, shoot the goal or shoot the puck at the goalie or whatever, because just as much as we want to save the puck, they want to feel good going into the game knowing that they scored on their goalies, right? So it's kind of, there's always going to be that battle there, but at the end of the day, I think for the goalie, where it's easily more mental than it is for the players, just understanding that not every shot is going to be stopped, and just locking in on certain ones. Yeah, that's kind of just my 2 cents there, if that makes sense.
It does. That's great. Thank you.
Yep. So this is one of the examples of when you just have like a couple seconds with a goalie here. So somebody mentioned earlier just about when I am going through these, if I'm working on things for myself, or and I mentioned, I've taken bits and pieces from every goalie coach that I've worked with. This is something that Brucey's this is our guy Brucey, that he's kind of taught, and it's something that I can't remember the name of this technique, but it's more, they teach it more into European goalies, but it's a bit of a stutter step. So from going from here to ending up over here, not only is it a long push, but that's a pretty big rotation, or almost a half rotation that I got to get my body over there too. So that's part of why, even if I get my eyes over there and my hands and everything, I've still got to rotate quite a bit. And it's something that I still have to work on. I still struggle with, and so do pro guys, right? It's always, you'd hope that you don't have to face a rotation that big in a game. Ideally, if everybody's doing their job, the farthest you'd have to rotate is maybe from this section to like this section, which is manageable, right? So this one that you'll see me do, it's not anything I would ever use in a game. If I got to get over there fast, I'll do a T push or a long shuffle. I have long legs. I have that capability, but they do a bit of like, they break it into two parts. So you'll see me kind of rotate, do a bit of a hop and then a push. And that's just, I don't know, it works for some people, works for others. So this is, like I said, something that he brought up to us to try. And it's one of those things where if you like it and it works, then you keep going with it. If not, scrap it and work on what you've got. So you'll see me kind of back in and then push over. Actually, I think this one might just be the way I do it, just a push. The next, when we have some shots, I change it. At head, shoulders, push. So maybe I'm a little bit deep here, but it's that same idea with the other shooting drills where you're backing in like the rush and then you're moving over. So this is the same kind of idea as spatial awareness, but it's a much longer push. So the idea is they're breaking in, you get guys on either side, and you got to be cognizant of both guys. Obviously, the puck handler is the immediate threat, so you don't want to be too deep, but you also got to be able to get over here in case the puck moves. And the reason we're doing it on our feet here isn't because it's, one of those, it is a warm-up drill, but as goalies get older, the quality of shot is just, everything's so faster and they're just so good that it's better to stay on your feet instead of, slide, and things can get kind of messy. So we'll see me do it again here. And for that, it's almost like the guy's catching it and shooting from out here where you have time and space. If it was like here, then it would probably be a slide, but that's just kind of, so one thing that my goalie coaches used to do when I was younger is to simulate this. For us, we can kind of imagine it. We go through it every day, but if you were to put a puck out here or a puck here, whatever you're having them do, whether it's a slide or out on your feet. So then just as kind of like that visual cue, right? Because it's kind of easy to get lost in just staring in an open space. But I know for me, when I was younger, visual cues are a big help. So kind of like out, head, and then you'll notice that. So this is something that I do. It's something Vasilevsky does too. By no means am I anywhere near Vasilevsky skill. He's a different breed, but you'll see my head, and I do a push, but it's not until I land this edge that I actually square up to the puck. So see, like I kind of drag my foot forward and I use that momentum to bring me forward. And it's that little wiggle that allows me to get square almost before, but also get over there like sooner. So let's see if I do it on the other side here. So this is a really good one for goalies to just try different things. So for younger goalies, I don't do it as much on that side as I do on the blocker. But for younger goalies, that's probably going to be a T push. And slowly as they get older, it's like they call it a long shuffle. And that's kind of what most goalies, in college and pro begin to do. The T push kind of gets eliminated because when you do that, you open yourself up, even though it gets you over there pretty quick. But it's just, this is a good one. That's a good one where feedback is really important, I think, especially for younger goalies, and you kind of work with them to figure out, what works best or how they can get there quicker and set their feet and all those little things, because it's going to be different for each goalie. Like the way I do that is, I wish I had a clip of Staub's doing it. The way I do that is completely different than how he does it. And then this is the same kind of idea here, but now we have a shot element. So again, I kind of gap out. I have my spot, and I guess it's coming from this side. So the idea is the shooter will kind of walk through this way, and this guy's coming around back door. So I need to be patient and hold my feet here, but be aware that I might have to make that push over. So something, I'll go through this in a second, but something after, we do a drill like that, normally the shots might start, they'll catch it and shoot from out here. And then once we're comfortable with that, they'll move it into like here and just kind of move it closer and closer to us. And that's part of that progression where, things might get a little bit sloppier, making that push on your feet to face a shot from here. But it's adding that challenge once we're comfortable enough, doing it out here. So this is the one actually with that little bit of a Euro step. You can see I do a bit of like a hop. And this is that one that we're just messing around with it, trying it. So right here, I'll do like a hop and then a push. And it actually, I found I just get over there slower instead of taking time to rotate. But Stauber, our other goalie, he's a big fan of doing that little two-step there. I'll go back here. So I do that little hop because you see right there, that was essentially my rotation, and then a push into my spot. But it's essentially the same idea as the skating drill, just with a shooting aspect here. So quiet feet, and then yeah. So that's one that again, like Brucey had us try something that he took from some of his pro guys, and it just didn't work for me. And so he said, okay, then scrap it and go back to what you were doing. So, but like again, for Stauber, that's something that works for him. So it's just going to be different for different guys. And then so this one is a similar idea, but the aspect of difficulty we've added is we've got the other two goalies as screen options now. So essentially, I'll gap up to one puck, and he'll pass it across. So I'm making that big push. I'm kind of confined to a little space with the screen there. And this guy is walking a high slot towards the net. And so the two most important parts of this drill is one, the push, and then two, which side I lean on, whether it's that side or that side. And this is why reading what hand, whether right or left the shooter is really important. So I make that push. And then you see that I went from looking over. Stauber's a bigger guy, so this side was harder for me, but he's a left-handed shot. Normally you want to be looking on the forehand side. So I'm looking, and then there's kind of a break in my sight line right there where I move to the left. So this one, I probably should have been on this side a little bit more. And I was kind of, and you can see I'm tracking the body rather than the puck. So the puck's going to see all of this, but his eyes probably don't. And he kind of shot it into me, so I got lucky there. So rotation, I'm not doing that hop anymore. And then for this guy, our other goalie, Jimmy, he's a little bit shorter, so I'm kind of looking over him. That's one of those things to play with, is either goalies tend to, as soon as there's a body in front, they get a little too big, too compressed. And the older you get, the better quality of shots you're going to start facing. Guys will start picking the top corners if you get yourself too compressed. So I'm looking over him, and he's a righty as well, but he's pulled it so much to the inside that I know he doesn't see short side anymore.
So, just super quick, sorry to jump in on you here.
No, all good.
One of the things I noticed, and you mentioned this really briefly, with this drill, Austin's pretty high out. With the previous drill, he was back a little bit more. With a younger goalie, unless your squirt goalie's 6'4", you kind of want to keep them at the top of the crease on that movement. Young goalies have a big tendency to, when they cross the crease, to give up way too much depth and end up way too deep in the crease.
Yeah, and even for me, that's something that when I got here, there's two big things that Brucey, they kind of, even Coach Nate sat me down and they said, you're fast, but you move a lot, and we think you could get more depth. And that one I was kind of surprised, because I know I'm a big guy, but it's not until doing video and doing drills like this that I realized, when I first got here, I might have been, back here rather than up here. So it's even for big guys like me, depth's such an important thing. And I can go back maybe at the end of that first drill I did, where I pushed for a shot here, and then when the third one came, I had to gap out, right? So it's kind of gaining depth wherever you can. They call it, a lot of goalie coaches call it holding your ice, so not backing in too far. And this one's a nice one too, because sometimes when there's a screen in front, goalies kind of, rather than holding their ice and maybe give them a little shot in the back, kind of keep your space, will compromise their depth and let it kind of push them back into the net, which isn't something that you want. So this one, again, he's a lefty here. So I kind of cheated it. I didn't come over as far, but you'll see the puck's in front of him. I'm good because I'm looking over on this side. And then right there, as soon as I look to the other side of his body, I lose sight of the puck, so I have to pick it up quickly again. I think I get kind of lucky here, but I'm looking here again, tracking his eyes, and look how much the puck sees, right? Got lucky again. And then, yeah, push over. You see, I don't really move back even when they start to crawl in too. And he was I'll back it up a little bit. This was the first time he was an inside shot. So he was a lefty, but on my left side. So as he comes in, I know he doesn't see anything over here. So I knew I could hold my ice in the middle, and I ended up forcing him to shoot wide. There's two parts to this one, I guess. Now that I see it, this is one of those simple ones where you got 5 minutes and you have a net. I'll explain what Stobbs is doing over here. How we usually start is, we might do a simple skating drill in here, and the other two goalies will work on the circle. So what Stobbs is doing, I don't think I have the whole thing in here, but we usually put a puck here, and in your stance, you'll do a full lap around the circle, and then you'll go around again, but skating like a player, like stick fully extended. And then on the third lap, you pick up the puck and you skate around, kind of how he's doing here, just stick handling the puck a little bit. So that's just an easy one to get the feet going, and easy enough for the younger guys to do too. Get a little puck handling in there too. This one, in terms of me and the net here, we're working on a little bit post play now. So this is my third progression in this whole series of clips that I have. So what happens so this is, again, simulating like a guy's here, you're sliding in. And a big thing is this is called the reverse VH, or reverse vertical horizontal. So this would be your vertical, and this is your horizontal leg. And I think it's overused. I'm a big guy, so I can use it, but again, it's only certain situations. And how many times do you see in NHL games, guys are still getting picked up top here, and it's always a topic of conversation where it's like those goals can't go in. So I think there's value in it, but certain times. So it's something that can definitely be worked on. From a shot from here, or anything like, behind the goal line, I usually use it, but as soon as, like, if it was anything beyond, I'm usually up on my feet, or here to here, I'm up on my feet, kind of thing. So this essentially is just working on dropping into my verse for a shot, and it's almost simulating now the second one, the guy's walking out here. And what's important is when you're moving off your post, it's really easy to get too extended and to push this way and expose the short side instead of just coming straight out. So you'll see here, I kind of just came right now. Like, again, we're not going super fast. There's no need to go a million miles an hour. It's also, Brucey shooting on me, not one of the forwards too. So it's just kind of more about getting the movement down. It is a bit more of an advanced movement, but I'll go through it and then I'll point out something in a second. So slide into my post. So this is good because it allows me to, once I hit my post, it works on, I like to go skate blade on post. There's toe bridge right here. That's what Stobbs does. He locks that into the post. Like goalies like Tuukka Rask will put their shin inside the post. Every goalie kind of has their own thing, but I like to go skate blade on. So starting out here and pushing in is just kind of a way for me to work on locking in as soon as I hit it, because during a game, like I'm not just kind of dropping into it when I'm already on the side of the net. You're moving around, you're following the play, and it's important to be able to hit your marks, because if I miss that spot right there, then the rest of the rep I'm trying to catch up. And then again, just kind of pushing out. So the important thing here was, like, if I go back, is more so on that second rep, it's kind of just pushing to the middle and keeping my ice instead of pushing too hard or not enough. So in this one, make the first save, and then I'm in a good spot where, again, like I kind of stayed with him. Again, he's a righty too, so he can reach. He's got a bit of a reach on me. And then on the second one, the other thing I'll point out is, if you look at my right leg, so the one in the middle of the net, is that's the reason why I'm able to get where I am. So you see, it's kind of like it's in the middle of the net. It's not behind, because if it's behind, or almost in the net, then I'm not going to get any sort of leverage or push. And if it's too far out here, then as soon as I push, I'm coming this way instead of over this way. So yeah, it's just kind of a nice, simple one. Nothing too complex. Don't really need any shooters. So if there's none available, it's nice to do little things like that. Is there any questions on just how I played that or on that one? Because it is a bit of a tricky one. All right. So this is a progression from that. And now this one works a little more on patience. I guess it kind of simulates a power play. So this guy's going to rim a puck in, and this guy's going to catch it and then continue through to this side. So that's when I would probably drop into my reverse, and then he's going to move in for a shot option. So now this guy can wrap it or make the pass out to this guy in the slot. So what that works on is my patience while the guy's behind the net. If I were to just drop right away and assume he's going to do a wraparound and then he throws it out front, and this guy one times it, then I'm kind of out of position. So there's that patience between knowing whether I have the time to drop or stay up. And then the other side of it is if it does go to this guy in the slot, pushing out to him instead of coming out too far that way. It's kind of hitting your marker. And then again, similar to the screen one, there's kind of two types of like a break in your tracking. And the first one was when I was looking from one side of the screen to the other. As soon as I'm passing his back, I lose sight of the puck and I need to regain my tracking and find that puck again. With this one, as soon as I turn my head, because the puck's going one way, the shooter's going the other way, and it's changing player possession, I lose that. There's that break again where I lose the puck and I got to find it. So an important thing here is if you look at my head, as this guy is moving, and I take that opportunity looking from my right shoulder to my left, looking out front to keep track of him. So this is one of those drills that, again, it's a 2-on-0. It's also a really tough play from back of the net to front of the net. We're hoping that's not something that would happen in the game. But it's good to work on things like this towards the end of our goalie skate when, our confidence is good, our feet are working, and it's not necessarily one where I'm expected to stop every shot. But I think there's something to be said between doing things really simply and working on really simple, slow drills and building the confidence to also working on things that you'd hope to not face in a game, but everybody's going to at some point. Like I said, a good goalie is a boring goalie, but at the same time, if a goalie that makes those saves that you're not expected to, or that's going to help your team win games in any league. So anyway, he rims it. I don't shoulder check here, and I end up getting out to a good spot. A lot of that is just using my body. And then took out the freshman, let him know not to get too close. So he wraps, and see, I did that little shoulder check right here. I know the puck's not in anybody's tape, and I'm already on this post, so there's no threat from this guy. And I can see, now I know he's starting to creep in. So I find the puck. I know he's walking across. I do a second shoulder check there. And then this one, if anything, see how I kind of slid out this way? It's almost more of just like a drop forward. I got kind of lucky because he was so close into me, but that's the whole idea. Is it's almost, you'll see, I think I added a clip of how I thought it was done, how I did it perfectly. It's kind of just like a fall forward and not like a push, because as soon as you push, you start opening up this area, and that's when those goals happen that, like I said, even in the NHL, so some of the best goalies in the world are getting criticized. It's all time and place. Goaltending is a game of percentages.
So one of the big things here, if you guys watch Austin run through these reps, is that he does not move his near side foot until he's picked up the puck on the other side, right? The head goes first, and then the feet go after you see the puck. A lot of youth goalies will pull to the middle of the net, and that makes them vulnerable on both sides. You only want to be able to have to slide one direction.
Yeah, it's making it as simple as you can, right? And like I said, there's that little break where as soon as it's behind the net, you got to find it. You got to know where the puck is, especially the older you get and the better the players get, right? Something that I've been taught, if I'm moving from my right post, so my right skate, to my glove side, the first thing I do is kind of shuffle my feet to the middle, but I'm still looking on this side. And as soon as the puck gets to hang on, I might have that backwards. Okay, I'll go from glove side here. So when I'm going from glove side to blocker side, like it is here, I pull off to the middle of the net, and I'm still looking out my glove side to this whole side. As soon as he gets to about the middle, then my feet, I shuffle over to this post, and then I turn my head and my stick over to the side. Whereas when I go from blocker to glove, the first thing I do is turn my head, and then shuffle my feet over. It's just, that's something that I learned when I was younger, and I just found works the best in terms of maximizing my visibility of the puck when it's behind the net. So I'll back this one up here, just so you can see that push up off the post. So I don't move much. Again, I'm a big guy. I know I don't need to push right out at him. Also with the younger guys, that like I'm willing to bet they won't get the puck up as quick, you know. So if they can same kind of thing, drop forward more than a push out, it might help. So I'm locked on. The puck's not even on his tape, and I know where his stick is. I'm lined up kind of perfectly, and I should just move out a little bit instead of pushing off my post. So he's shooting from here. The only thing he would really have is that, and he's got to get that up quick. But the other side of that is where my glove is. I could probably have it up a little bit more, but it's also forward. So I'm kind of cutting down that angle where even from here, you can see that top corner. The puck might not, but he's got nothing short side. So again, with the idea of just, you know, when you got 5 minutes, some little things to work on. These two drills I put in, this one is good for, you know, either when you first get started or at the end. It's another one of those ones where you're on your feet. I actually don't move my feet at all. So again, you can see pucks up here. This goalie is kind of low slot, and the whole idea for me is I'm staring at his back. So I'm staring at this goalie's back. The coach is just kind of nothing crazy, just like wristing shots on either side. This is one of those ones that for the younger guys, it might be better to do like off to the wall or something and not have the net behind you, because it's a drill that, you know, I know if I get scored on in this one, I'm working on, you know, my tracking, and I'm not going to stop every single shot, because this is one of the toughest things that you could do, and you'll see I'm not too successful. But for a younger guy, just the, you know, having the puck go in the net, it might be something just to, you know, hurt the confidence, even though you're working on a very fine part of the game here. So to do it off on the wall might be better, but you'll see. So I'm staring at his back. Essentially, I don't see the puck until it gets to here. So my area of picking up the puck is very minimal, and that's why it's a tough drill and low percentage save. And again, I'm not going up and down because I'm not really concerned if it goes in the net. It's more about picking up as quick as I can and then moving my hands at it, or my stick, or whatever I have to do. So they're nothing crazy, just like low shots. You can imagine if he was wristing them, it would be much tougher. A little reset between each one too. So I'll go back to that one again. But it's nothing crazy. Simple things. You don't need a shooter or like one of the forwards or anything. Anybody can do it. And again, like I said, on the wall might be something better for the goalie. So there's not that he's not cognizant of all the puck went in the net. I didn't stop it, because it is a bit of a frustrating drill, but it's working on you know, peripheral. This is good a lot of times when the puck is moving from here to here and there's a quick shot from here and you're looking from behind the net, where to the front of the net, to the slot, where you don't have much time to pick it up, and essentially it's all reactionary, right? That's not something you're going to be thinking about in a game. And then this last one I have.
So I sometimes run this last drill with a blanket because I don't have a 6'4" goaltender to put up a screen. But you can just take a small blanket and hold that blanket up, and that provides a pretty good blackout for the little kids.
Yeah, there's lots of things you could do. When at the beginning of, I've pretty much been living in Michigan up until I moved here to Rhode Island, but when COVID hit, that was kind of my biggest opportunity when everything shut down to go home, and first time in a long time. And, you know, obviously not being able to go to the gym and stuff, I spent a lot of time just kind of tinkering and looking at different ways that I can work on things off the ice, since I couldn't skate. And I ended up doing something really similar. I have my sister, she had a big like punching bag, and I ended up setting it up in our garage. and used it as a screen, and then had just like some tennis balls or racket balls or whatever. And I would grab my trapper and I would throw it with the punching bag right in front of me and have to use my peripherals or look around it as a screen, same kind of way. So there's like a ton of things you can do off the ice that way to simulate it. Even if you don't have that time in practice too. And that's kind of the nice thing about these drills is they're easily transferable to different little things you can do off the ice as well. This one, I know for the younger guys, puck handling isn't a number one priority, and I wish for me it was taught when I was younger, because when I ended up getting to junior, all they expected was goalie, go behind the net, stop the puck. I leave it for one of the forwards, they'd come pick it up, I'd get right back in the net, and that was it. And that was so you can imagine college for me was a bit of a shock. You don't see it much in the NHL with the trapezoid because they're confined to one area. Then you don't see them really flying over here unless they're on the power play, and they've got such a small area behind the net here to kind of work with. But in college, it's you've got as much as you can take, right? And so what happens normally is puck gets dumped in, one guy branches out to here, one guy branches out to here, maybe you've got a guy in the middle, but your job is to go out there, look up ice, move it to one of the guys, and the quicker you can transition to offense from defense, the more success your team has. The whole idea of goalie being the quarterback, if any of you have heard that before, and obviously that's not something that's expected for some of the younger guys, but even something simple like this where you don't even have to extend your stick. You keep it like this into your blocker, and you maybe just shovel the puck over for space, shovel it over here, move it to your players. Just kind of building that idea of getting comfortable outside of the net, just as comfortable as they are in. Again, I'm 25-year-old fifth year of college, and I'm still way more comfortable in my crease in my net than when I'm behind the net. The only thing that makes me feel a little bit better is I know I'm a big guy, so it's not like anybody's going to come knock me over. But this is a nice little one where, so the shooter's got pucks up here and he's just going to wrist one on net. I'm going to glove it, just kind of put it down and then take it behind the net, controlling it, and use these as targets. And that's something that I think will be great for the kids, is having a target. I mentioned shoveling it into space, but having just kind of making it into a bit of a game, right? So kind of that one didn't go over well. Try this one again. But yeah, drop it, look at the target, and then just move it that way. Even these small little plays are something that I think is manageable for the younger goalies. Could help the team out a lot, but also get them thinking and used to the habit of playing the puck, because it only gets more important as you get older. So I'll go through that one again. Tough. And again, everything we do, whether there's a shot or not, is the whole idea of using your eyes and your head before you do anything else, because that's when you're going to be the most successful, right? And kind of another way we do this drill too is we might put the tires over here, and it'll actually be a rim where I extend my stick, I stop it, and then have to shoot it at the tire. So there's just like little different things. You don't need a ton of ice. You can play around and do things like that. So this other one here, this one is a little more realistic and kind of works on something that you'll see more in the junior level or higher minor hockey level and AAA and just older age groups. So essentially it's stop the puck, and then every time here I'm just playing it up to the same side, but instead of having the tire, you're actually somebody to pass to. But the idea is, again, it's not a million miles an hour. You go out, you stop the puck, but head checking. So you'll see I stop it, I look to my backhand, I've got no pressure on me, so there's no rush. It's really easy, I think, a lot of times for goalies to rush, and that's kind of when you it's a whole idea of confidence again, right? If I take my time and I do it correctly, and I know I can do it correctly, the more times I do that, the faster I'll get, the better I'll get. And then eventually when I get into the game situation and there's actually somebody, there's some pressure and somebody coming on me here, then I'll be comfortable enough where I'll make a good play. So I'll shoulder check, even though I know I'm going up to the front side. It's that whole idea of just looking, making sure. Take a look, and then obviously vice versa, it'd be the same thing on the other side. So I'll play that one just one more time, and then passes don't need to be super hard. In a game, you'll have to make some hard passes, but here it's more about hitting your mark, taking a look. Again, for the younger goalies, this one might be a little bit tougher, but for older guys, that'd be a good one here. So those are kind of all the clips that I have. If anybody wants me to go back to any of them, I can do that here before I stop sharing my screen, or if there's any questions.
Hey, Austin,
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks for doing this. I think it's been really good for a lot of us to see how, even at your level, it's the basics a lot of times.
Yeah.
And if you or any of your counterparts that play with you as goalies need some more community service hours with coach or whatever you're doing this for, maybe if we could do something for the actual goalies and not necessarily for the coaches, but just to hear it from somebody like you.
Yeah.
Where, the basics about, quiet feet and doing the skating drills, like you showed that circle drill where you guys were going around the circle. I know our goalie on our team, he will not skate in any skating drills and drives me bananas. And I don't know if he feels that he just doesn't need to do them. And even though we tell him it's important for him to do them, he doesn't do them. So maybe hearing it from somebody like you will kind of reiterate that point to them and not just hear it from, the same old coach all the time. Having it come from somebody, at your level, I think might go a long way with the kids.
Sure, and I appreciate that, and I will say that even at my level, I hate doing the skating too. But you'll see in those drills just the whole idea of quiet feet. That's where it's transferable, right? So it's more about kind of, I guess, helping them see the applicability of it. Instead of just like, okay, you're gonna skate just because you feel like skating you today, and you saw from like what I showed too, like a lot of this stuff I don't think is super groundbreaking. It's pretty simple, and there's stuff that you've probably seen younger guys do too, and so I think it might be cool for them to see that even the older guys do it. But just on the idea of speaking to the goalies, again, when I went home for COVID, one of my biggest goalie coach influences, his name was Rod Wisco, and he was my guy in Toronto. Completely changed my game. Like I credit him to me, like even getting a commitment, going to play Division I. But he kind of changed everything for me. And one of the things that he did, where a lot of people were kind of taking the time off because they couldn't skate, they couldn't work out, whatever. And obviously back in Canada, you can imagine the situation as everyone's a little crazier here and there about it. And they've been locked down for some time. But he kind of set up like a chalk talk where I got a text from him one day, and he just said, be online at this time. And we did a call just like this. And there was a bunch of goalies who were kind of starting to look towards either playing AAA or getting into juniors. And what he would do was, I ended up taking part every week, and he would have different goalies on. So I actually have all my notes from it here. I don't know if you're familiar with like Zach Fucali. He was the world junior goalie for Canada. He actually just broke the longest streak without getting scored on for the Washington Capitals in his debut. Ian Milos, he was a guy who I think he was a 6-7 goaltender at Boston College and only played maybe 4 games in his 4 years there, and still he's found a place to play pro. And one of Broder's kids, Jeremy Broder, who's I think he was at the time he was over playing in Denmark, and even for me, it was kind of cool to have another goalie and not just for the kids to look up to, but I was looking up to these guys and to kind of learn from different guys. And that was kind of one of the biggest things that I've found. It's just taking bits and pieces from everybody, right? So yeah, I've got no problem talking to the guys here if that's something that people would think would help. So.
Thanks very much, Austin, for taking the time. I will definitely talk to the board about trying to figure out a way to get Austin out for a goaltender workshop at some point if he's open to that. In the meantime, if you do want someone to come out to one of your practices to work with one of your goalies, please just give me a call or an email. I'm happy to do it. I've done it for a bunch of teams this year, but I don't know that you need help until you tell me that you need help. So That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to help out. Sometimes it's good to just hear, like you said, hear the same thing from a different voice. So if anyone else has any other questions for Austin, we can maybe fire those off. If not, maybe let him go have a beer.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Got a lot out of this.
Good. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thanks very much, Austin. Really appreciate it.
We're going to try to save this recording here and make that available for anyone if you want to go back as well. But thanks again, Austin, and everyone have a great night. Thanks everyone for coming.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. I had a good time. So yeah, thank you again, and have a great night.